All right, guys, welcome back to the BNB Professional. I am your host, Kevin Bryant Ramirez, and you're listening to episode 43. And this is an installment of the interview series where we interview a different BNB professional every Thursday. And today is no different. We have a very high quality guest. Very honored to have you on the show. My guest name is Flip Zweig. Am I pronouncing that right?
Close, yes, Zweig.
Swag. I should have asked you that before. Flip Zweig. He is an real estate investor for 23 years out of Arizona. He's got a YouTube channel called the Airbnb Climb, a podcast called Cut the Curve, which comes out every Wednesday on YouTube and Spotify. And he also has a course called Passive Income Accelerator, where he's teaching students how to build a short-term rental business. So welcome to the show, Flip.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. I appreciate you.
Appreciate that too. And just a little housekeeping here. We've been having just a little issue with with my internet on my side. So if you do hear a delay, sorry, Flip, and sorry to the audience. We'll be fixing that in the upcoming shows, upcoming episodes. But yeah, there might be a slight delay. So, Flip, how'd you get started? We want to hear from you. How'd you get started in real estate and Airbnb, and tell us a little bit about what your business focuses on, and kind of paint a picture of your scale of operations in your business.
So I came out to Arizona State University from a small town in the Midwest, did the traditional thing, went to college, got my degree, and had no idea after I graduated what I wanted to do in life. So I knew one thing though, Kevin, I didn't want to have to trade my time for hours. So that was important to me, to find a vehicle that would allow me to not trade dollars for hours, basically. So I, right out of college, I ended up selling photocopiers for, you guys that don't know, photocopiers were big about 20 years ago, and they're still relevant. They're in small businesses. So I did that for about a year and a half. And man, that taught me a lot about rejection. So everyone that I would knock on their door, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, small business, they would see like 5 copier salesmen that same day. They're like, we don't want copiers. Get it. So it was a very great way to learn about perseverance. And, I ended up getting good at it because I just stayed consistent. And then the training wasn't that well, though, so I wanted to learn more about sales training. So I went over to the college, Arizona State, to the Career Services Center, looked at companies, Kevin, that were doing, that were known for their sales training. So I ended up going with a company called Automatic Data Processing, which was a Fortune 100 company, had been around for many hundreds and some years, and they're based out of New Jersey. Wow. So it's a payroll software. So after about 6 interviews, they finally hired me. I sat on the bench behind an experienced salesperson, and I finally got my own sales territory. So that's kind of my story from 18 to about 25, 26, and then I met someone in automatic data processing. We used to run the mountain together, and he was doing not short-term rentals, but long-term rentals. And, he got me into it, and he was my mentor for a while, but that's kind of how I got started in real estate. Again, I was looking for something that I didn't have to always be there, and that's what I thought real estate was. But again, after flipping a lot of homes, I learned that flipping's a job. Let's face it, flipping was a big job. So about 2.5 years ago, one of the guys I mentored for wholesale, Sasha, he had been doing Airbnb VRBO for 10 years. So 2.5 years ago, he got me into it. He mentored me, and then JM, and then I had another mentor. So mentorship's really big for me in my life, and that's never looked back, and that's how I get into it. That's all I do now is short-term rentals and building up my portfolio of holdings.
Nice. And but you have, you still have long-term rentals, or just? I think you're transitioning into, right?
Well, I have long-term rentals that, like, I have some rural areas that I own some property, and so those are long-term rentals. I have a couple in Scottsdale where they don't allow short-term rentals. So, but everything else I converted from long-term to short-term past couple of years. Right.
And you mentioned something really good, which is that mentorship. Mentorship was a big thing for you, and I feel the same thing. As a mentor kind of really cuts the path for you, right? You're doing some one-on-one mentorships. Could you talk a little bit about that and why you think mentorship is so important?
So back in the day, Kevin, one of the very first books, well, not the first book, but I got a couple programs, late night television. They were advertising, no money down real estate. So I started reading, learning more. Once Charles introduced me to the long-term rentals, I bought some programs. So that's kind of a form of mentorship. I ended up going to both their seminars back in the day. And then in 2004, I was doing full-time, doing okay, but then I met a mentor, and that changed my projection, because once I met Jerry, he was not only a mentor, but he became a business partner for 5 years. And then we went through the whole financial collapse together. But without that, I mean, he really helped me because he had been through 3 recessions before. He's probably in his mid-80s now. But once I met him, my business just skyrocketed, because having him by my side, having him, it was amazing to have that mentorship, relationship, partnership with him, because it turned into a partnership.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's nice to see a person like you with your experience and a wealth of knowledge, teaching others that same path. Now, let's talk about Airbnb, because this is an Airbnb show, right? You've been a real estate investor for 23 years. Obviously, it's not an easy feat, guys. So just for those listeners that are listening, like, this is a very you're getting quality today, guys, with Flip. All right. So, but if you're listening on the podcast, you're probably not looking at the video. And Flip is sitting in one of his luxury rentals in Airbnb. He's got a Kobe Bryant, what is it, like a painting behind him, which in his luxury rentals. And what caught my eye, he posted on his Instagram, this thing flips up, right? This thing flips up automatically with a remote, and has a dartboard underneath, which is super, super, super cool. I've never really seen that in any of the new units. And I really wanted to talk to you about that, because, I think now, in today's Airbnb world, like, these unique features that you add in these Airbnb listings are so much more important now, right? So I really want to kind of to get your feedback on that. And so tell us about that this new deal that you got going on, and how it's looking? What are your projections, and how'd you find the deal?
Absolutely. So what I've always been taught, Kevin, is to learn whatever business you're going to do and build the roots. So as a newer student in the course, in our classes, obviously you wouldn't jump right into a project this big, because this is about a 5,000 square foot home, luxury, marble, every detail has to be defined. So, after 2.5 years of doing the bread and butter, I wanted to step up the game, do a luxury. You're always evolving in this business. That's what I love about real estate, the creativity that you can have, the resources, because I couldn't do it without a team, guys. So the team is another big part. You can't be a solo entrepreneur, because you could do it, but again, we talked about cutting the learning curve. The show's called Cut the Curve. It's about team. It's about mentorship. How do you cut that learning curve? Like, it's all about learning from my mistakes, learning from people who have been in the game, your mistakes as property manager, what have you, and helping others cut that learning curve. So that's how we came up with the name of our podcast, our show. And we do interview high-level people, whether it's real estate, any type of entrepreneurial game, mentors. So that's the reason we came up with that. And with this project, Kevin, it's been there's always challenges, right? So this one, I printed out a spreadsheet this morning. Let's see, we're in it for, reno, decor. So this one, I don't have my glasses. We're in it for like 150 grand so far. So it's not cheap, right? So it's a long project. I got great financing. This project was actually my family's home. So we live in it. My kids are a little older now. My daughter's in college. My son's here with me, but we live in it. So it's perfect. I brought in an interior designer who's designing everything, and we meet with her once a week. We were in Coronado. That's in California because it's so hot in Arizona. So we were out there the whole month of June. So the project kind of got stalled, but that's okay because you need to pace yourself. We needed a breather. So now we're back at it. We'll work on a few other things. But this one, guys, will be launched in October, which is peak season because everyone's out in Arizona. So we're going to start probably about $1,000 a day and see how that rolls. Wow. But yeah, it'll be a nice, beautiful project.
Wow. And do you have any projections of I mean, it's $1,000 a night. The projections on like annual revenue, or
I haven't dove deep into that yet, but we got some people projecting and helping us on that stuff because my thing is I can't do it all. So like I bring in people that can help with that because for me it's about now I have the passive income course, so we're mentoring one. We have our group calls on Tuesday, and then I'm in acquisition mode too. So I'm always out finding new projects, new deals, because our goal is eventually to hit that $100K a month passive income through short-term rentals. Wow.
That is amazing. So you've gotten to a point, Flip, where you're your systems you have your systems down packed. Obviously you've been doing this for 23 years. You can't have it without systems, without a team, like you said. So you're at a point where, you can focus on your course, on teaching other people. And, as you acquire, then you're basically just handing it over to your team and saying, hey, like, let's get this thing done. And let's get it on Airbnb. Let's get it on the market. Is that kind of how it's going on right now?
Everyone has to have a role, and I'm the vision guy. I'm the guy with the expertise. I've been doing it so long. So again, you have your interior designers. You have your a lot of contractors, subcontractors coming through. So, and then with the other stuff, with the management, the long-term growth, we have people helping us with projections, numbers, and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah, because and the reason I asked you about these luxury rentals is because I see a lot of my audience is getting started, right? They're getting started. They're either at zero, right? They're either at zero listings, and they're looking at Airbnb as a potential way of either getting out of their job or providing some extra income for their family. So I get a lot of questions on where they can get the most revenue, right? And because if you get bigger listings, the idea is if you get bigger listings, you get that cash flow quicker, obviously, right? So,
and I know it's one of those things, risk reward, right? So
right,
that's we talk a lot about that, and with the course, it's really cool because we have professionals like yourself come in once a week on the Zoom, and then Bryce Cano, he does a lot in Joshua Tree, so he was my guest yesterday inside the group. So if you guys don't follow Bryce, he does great experiential stays in Joshua Tree. It's a totally different type of product that I do in Arizona, but he's very savvy. He's very well invested, 7-8 years in the business, and that's the type of people we want to bring to our students, because with the modules, they not only get myself on the group Zoom, but from time to time, we have special guests who are experts in their space in the short-term rental. And yesterday was awesome having him in there. And then I do the one-on-one mentorship. So it's a growing community, but my favorite part, Kevin, is when students start from zero and you can see their success and see them get their first unit, their first property. And it's exciting. It's scary for people who've never done anything like this, but having someone like myself, having the community every week where we hop on the Zoom, we're sharing everything together. So it makes your path, it's not easy. Like you said, it's not easy, but if you have that community, you have a mentor, coach, you're diving deep into YouTube, you're listening to your podcast, you're just immersing yourself in that short term. Before you know it, you're going to have your first property. Right.
So, can you tell us a little bit more in detail on what you're doing with your students? Because you, so are you guys more teaching like, obviously in the Airbnb game, right? We have basically three main strategies, which is ownership, there's arbitrage, and there's management. Are you teaching a specific type of strategy? Is it just ownership or arbitrage or? Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a great question, Kevin. So what our course and our modules consist of is everything that I have learned as an owner over the past 2.5 years. So we've worked very hard with my videographer, and I also hired the top copyright guy in the country who works with a lot of courses like this. So the course turned out amazing. We're going to be adding to the courses too. Like we didn't have the luxury at the time, so we're adding modules as we evolve and grow. The course is always evolving to help students. So it does teach how to be an owner, but also we're getting into the second phase, which is the arbitrage, the subleasing. So we have a lot of students who, and I think this is a common misbelief, Kevin, where people think you need money to make money in real estate, and that's one of the biggest lies. And I know for a fact that you can get into this business. I've seen hundreds of people over the years, like myself, who didn't have a lot of money to start, or maybe they didn't have any money, but they came up with a goal, a plan. They what we do is we lock down properties. So you lock down a property, and then there's money everywhere. So don't let the fear of stop you that, I don't have any money, I can't invest in real estate. So I would say invest in a course, invest in a mentor, invest in yourself first and foremost, because self-development mindset, like that's the very first module on our course. It's about mindset, because I don't want someone getting into this that doesn't understand self-development mindset, because again, real estate's just a vehicle, but there's 1,000 things you can do, but if you don't have that mindset, it's not going to work for you guys.
Right. And it's like, cause especially in real estate, because there's not really like, I mean, unless you go get your license, your realtor license or whatnot, they have continuing education and all that stuff. They kind of train you. But there is no really like real estate school, right? There's no it's all YouTube for investments.
Yeah, it's all YouTube.
Yeah.
It's a great way to learn, guys, but like they're only teaching you so much, and then if you get inside a course, that's really where you're gonna take that next step. And it took me a while, because everyone was asking, how can we learn from you? Let us pick your brain. Let us buy you coffee. I'm like, I'm busy. You can't really. And that's one thing, guys, with all the people on my podcast, two things. It's the mindset. And the second thing, it's if you're new to the game and you call Pace, Brent, some of these guys, you could DM them. That's the great thing. These mentors are very accessible through Instagram, through different resources, YouTube. You can reach out to them, but you have to know what value you can provide that person that's been doing it for a long time at a high level. So that's one thing, Max, and all the guys, they're like, you can't just DM me and say, I'll take you out to coffee or lunch, because that's not providing value. You got to provide a deal. You got to figure out a creative way to get in front of that mentor, because again, if you don't have money, you do have time, you could go work for the mentor. Like every mentor, every person I know in real estate that's doing things, they need help in some area of their business. So if you guys are new in your local community, you see someone on Instagram, you see them on YouTube, you want to shadow them, you want to go work for them. Alex Camacho was on my show, and he hates driving. He flips homes in California and Hawaii. So what Alex did is he needed someone to drive him, and so he paid to get a driver, a younger guy. But guess what? That driver is now like working for him in Dispo. So like again, get in, because the driver heard Alex's phone calls. He learned a ton from just being around that person. So don't limit yourself, guys. Don't reach out to people on Instagram and say, can I pick your brain? Can I buy you coffee, buy you lunch? Because that's not value. You got to provide some value. Because no offense, I mean, I could buy my own coffee and lunch. I think those guys feel the same way too. Like, so it's and not being arrogant or a jerk in any means, Kevin. I'm just letting you know the real facts of how people that I've interviewed think about value. And next thing you know, you're in the door with that person. You're in his group. You're in his, So my course is very affordable. We did that on purpose to build it. But once you're in the group, guess what? You have my full attention for that 1 hour. You have whoever's group you're in, you got their full attention, and you're learning a ton. Plus, the networking is phenomenal in the course, because we do encourage, the students to work together, to trade deals. We have pop-ups for the students locally here, so they're more intimate groups and they're meeting each other. So it's just win-win for everyone in the course, and
Yeah.
everyone's got to start somewhere. So the first one
Yeah.
is always, as you know, Kevin, the very hardest to get your first one. But after that, So,
Yeah. The first one's the scariest. Where you're most nervous. You don't know what you're doing. But you have to take that dive, right? And I'm that type of person. I'm just like, I'll just go in and then I figure it out, and that's really that. Yeah.
You can't know everything going into the deal, into the business. Like,
right.
So that was me too. I just wanted it so bad. Like I didn't, my first flip that I ever did was like, I made under $1,000, but like, I was so excited because I was actually flipping a house. And I probably did it all the wrong way back then, but like now from learning, I'm trying to help others. Like, you don't have to go at it alone, because I didn't have any workers lined up. I didn't know the cost of materials. I didn't know the cost of, everything that goes into a renovation. I got into it though. Like you said, I just jumped in and then figured it out.
Right. And you said something important too. Like you said, all the big guys, they are accessible. But once you get to, a certain level, like you Flip, like, you're a busy guy. You get busy, right? You get really busy. Yeah. So, right. So, like you who want to teach, you're like, okay, if you guys want to learn from me, hey, yes, you have to buy the course, right? But something important that you said, if you don't have the money, because I see this all the time with the people that reach out to me, it's like their biggest obstacle is money. Like, it's just like
mindset. That's a 110% mindset. Like, it's so baffling that, and it's just, be careful what you watch in the morning. Like, I watch every morning. I turn on I Am Wealthy. I turn on all these affirmation YouTube videos, and you got to have that, because if you're listening to the news, you're listening to your neighbors, you're listening to someone at your job 9 to 5. Why would you listen? They're still stuck in 9 to 5. So listen to other people on YouTube. Listen to, like I said, first thing when you wake up is critical. Set your morning routine. Get your goals. Get your coffee, whatever. But get a morning routine too. And again, Kevin, designing your life is critical. So whatever you do, like, because if you don't design it, guess what? They're going to design it for you in some job. And then you're just going to work hard for 20 years for someone else. You're like, what did I just do? I just wasted my most productive, energetic years of my life making someone else rich, basically.
Right. Yeah. I also do affirmations every day. I write them down in a journal, and I write like the same thing. I write down the same thing like every single day, just trying to manifest it into my life. But do you what type of vision work do you do for your business? Like, do you are you doing a vision yearly and breaking it down quarterly?
We do them monthly, quarterly, annually. So I do all that too. I'm big into journal, big into vision, because again, if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get to that destination? So early on, I was blessed to, I was back in college, and my buddy was a Taekwondo master, and he invited me to this resort up in Scottsdale, and he was into self-development back then, and I started maybe after that, but I got to see Jim Rohn live in person, who's Tony Robbins' mentor. So I got to see him speak.
Wow.
And man, that was a game changer, because he taught me that mindset versus that university education. So it all started changing, and then I would go to the bookstore and just be in the self-development section by myself, sitting there like half a day reading all these great books at the time. And Now, again, it's all on YouTube. You want to watch Think and Grow Rich. You want to listen to it. Like all that. Just plug it in on your YouTube. You could be doing something in your bedroom, in your kitchen, but listening to that stuff all day, every day, if you're not addicted, or that's one addiction I would say, get addicted to that stuff, because you're going to start surrounding yourself with like-minded people who have that vibrational energy, and it's going to change your trajectory in your life.
Man, I really like where this episode is going. We kind of had a starting point where, like, let's talk about the luxury rentals and all that stuff, but I definitely want to put, like, I've even been writing down, which is, it's interesting that we're talking about this today, because I've been writing down, like, what type of content should I be putting on my podcast, and some of it is the mindset stuff. I really want to do some more mindset stuff, and so it's really, really interesting that where you are. I mean, guys, I want you to understand, this is coming from Flip, who's been in the game for 23 years. Okay, he's been obviously very, very successful. You can't be running a real estate investment business without, for 23 years without having success, right? I mean, most businesses, they go out of business within, 1 to 5 years. Flip's been doing it for 23.
What kept me in it, too, Kevin, because again, any business at a high level, you're going to lose. Like, there's years that I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but learning through that, learning with a mentor. I mean, obviously during the 2009, there was nothing, we couldn't predict it, we couldn't project it, there was nothing we could do. But having that mentor, Jerry, by my side, liquidating all our properties, I mean, that was a very hard experience. But again, if you want something, you have to stick to it. Like, that's what I see a lot of people doing. They're like, his wholesale course doesn't work. His this. Give yourself time. Like, set a realistic goal. And then there's 168 hours in the week, Kevin. So I was very, I tracked every hour of the day, where am I at, early on, so I knew, because I was working corporate, I jumped out of that, but I had 2 young kids, so I thought right away I would make money in real estate. Guess what? It takes a couple of years till you start really being consistent. So I was fortunate to meet someone. I did a church mission or whatever, and David had owned his own commodities business, nuts and dried fruits. So he originally wanted me to work from his office, but I was able to work from home on the phones, selling nuts and peanuts and almonds. But he paid me a salary, plus I was able to vision board. Really what I wanted was that real estate business. So I take lunch break, I go in my closet and I do this. I get this little mini trampoline. I'd have this note card, I'm going to have 65 rentals, and you put the music on, and like Tony Robbins taught this technique, and I would do that every day, and just until eventually we did have a lot of properties. We did have tons of rentals, but again, you have to want it more than any. It's an inside job, I'd say, Kevin, because there's a lot of distractions along that road. There's people like, okay, you've done wholesale 3 months, it's not working, come this. But if you try short-term rentals, give yourself time. I mean, again, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to build the foundation, you have to build the roots, you have to water it. It may take a year, it may take 2 years, but I mean, this game's a lot quicker, obviously, than wholesale learning curve, because it's just, there's so many guys that get into wholesale, again, because it's no money down, you just lock up the property. However, there's so many guys now in wholesale competing for that same property. So what makes you different? You may make 100 phone calls. Guess what? You may not get one person that answers your call. You get a person that answers on the wholesale. They may hang up on you. So when you're calling property managers for Airbnbs and sourcing deals through Zillow, however your strategy is, 3 out of 10 are pretty receptive. So the numbers are much higher from our data and from our experiences with property managers, with people that are actually interested in talking to you. So that's what I love about teaching short-term rentals. The entry is way easier than, wholesale, fix and flip. It's just, and once you get into it, Kevin, if you set up the foundation right, it's a very sustainable business model. That was the other thing I was looking for after getting out of fix and flip for 20 years. I wanted to find something that was sustainable, where I could build it, collect them, travel. We were in Hawaii in January. I think I told you for 3 weeks. We're in California for a month in June. And guess what, guys? The best part is I was making income. Had the phone. Was, money's coming in. I'm like, this is pretty amazing business model.
Isn't that the greatest feeling? When I mean, I've become addicted to that Airbnb sound on my phone. Like, it's just like every time it rings, I'm like, is it a booking? Is it a booking? And
it's
right. It's so cool. It's so cool. And I talk about this all the time. Like, the lifestyle of Airbnb is amazing. My wife just quit her job.
Congratulations.
It's been a year now. Thank you. It's been a year now. She was in her job for 10 years. And like you said, we grew fast. Because we started really hitting it hard probably 6 months ago. We were also doing some flips after COVID. I mean, I told you my story. I got hit really hard with COVID, and I had to kind of flip a little bit. We were doing mobile home flips for a little while, and then we saw the Airbnb stuff picking back up, and like 6 months ago, and we're like, let's hit it hard. And we went from 1 to 9 within 6 months.
That's amazing.
And now,
you can scale that fast once you have whatever aspect you choose in the short term. Again, owner arbitrage management, like the scalability is crazy too. So not only the sustainability, but like if we could scale and do the scaling right, I'd say. So that's important, because we've all tried to scale, and that if you don't have the systems and the things in place, we fail at that. So there's countless people I've talked to, like we try to do it too fast, too quick, but if you do a steady pace, you can definitely scale it and be long-term success.
Beautiful. And do you see that because obviously, I mean, you kind of pivoted to short-term rentals in the last 2 years, right?
Yep.
And you see, like, obviously there's still huge growth. Like every day I see like a story of somebody new, like, hey, I went from 0 to 100 units on Airbnbs, within a year or two. I'm like, wow, like there's so much explosive growth right now. Do you see this like still continuing into the future? Or?
I mean, again, obviously we're in a changing market right now with everything going on in the economy, but like we are stabilizing the economy. Like, I don't know how Miami was, but like Arizona, we had 27% appreciation last year, and almost across the board.
Yeah. Wow.
Properties, like, so that growth, that appreciation, that's not realistic. Like, that's not a realistic market. So obviously inflation, the government controls a lot of stuff. The inflation took us a different route, but I feel that it's good for us as investors right now to get creative. There's a lot of creative financing I used back in the day. We're going to start doing more sub-twos. We got a lot of different ways to skin the business now. So, but the question is, like, 2009 to 2012, I believe, like, all the builders stopped. Like, no one was building. So there's massive building going on right now. Every state, right? Your state's probably booming with growth. And
yes,
I know some places are landlocked, but like you drive around Arizona where I stay, like there's so many builders. So And again, the population growth too has helped our business. So there's a shortage of inventory. So it's going to take a while to catch up. And our rents have gone crazy high in Arizona. Like it used to be affordable.
Right.
Like you look at some of these apartments that people are living in, they're paying more than a mortgage. I'm like, how does that work? So again, I think we're a great place for short-term rentals.
Right.
And I would just caution people, make sure, because service is very important in business, of course. So we depend, and we built it on, 5-star Superhost. We want to take care of what we have. And sometimes if you go too fast in the race, you miss things. You miss details, your customer service.
Right.
So just be cautious of that. I mean, I'm a dreamer, and I know a lot of you guys probably watching this are dreamers, and you want to grow as quick as possible, but make sure you have those things in order, the systems in place, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen just naturally. If you're in the game every day, there's so many, like you're focused on it, so now I'm sure you're seeing a lot of opportunities come your way because do you know what the reticular activating system is, Kevin? Have you heard of that? Or
first time I hear about this.
Okay, so it's a part in our brain. It's called RAS, reticular activating system. So it has to do with the power of focus. So, for example, you want a Mercedes, and then all of a sudden you drive in that Mercedes, you feel the Mercedes. Next thing you know, or you want a G-Wagon, let's say. You get that Mercedes G-Wagon. Right. You haven't seen many G-Wagons, but now since you're in it, you're sitting, you're driving it, guess what? You pull out of the parking lot, you turn around, there's a G-Wagon. It's just about the focus that you have on whatever whatever you want. And that's why I'm saying stay focused on short-term rentals, stay focused on wholesale, stay focused on fix and flip, but stay focused on one of those things because there's no way you can learn them all, but you got to figure out your niche in the real estate investment game because same thing. I was always like, you start making money, people are like, oh, Flip, I got this deal over here on storage units. And it's good to look at opportunities, but like, that's not my niche. That I was always like, I need to stay focused on, fix and flip. Right. I need to stay focused now on passive income. Like, so again, there's a lot of people pulling you this way, but figure out what you want, what your lifestyle to be, and find something with passive income. And that's the big tall tale with, short-term rentals, the velocity.
Right. Wow, man. Yeah. That's you said a reticular activating system?
Yep.
Right, the reticular activating system. Yeah, that happens all the time. Like when you're thinking of something, and it's just like the best example is the cars, right? Like it's like, hey, I'm thinking about a Tesla. I want a Tesla, and you keep saying it, and then you go outside, it's like Tesla's everywhere. Yeah, when before you didn't even see it, right? It's crazy.
As soon as you get off the call, you go out for lunch or whatever, you'll see a bunch of Tesla. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. It's insane. This stuff works, man. You know what I started doing, Flip? I started putting my main goal for the quarter for my business quarter. I have it probably like in 4 places in my apartment.
Love it. And, I told done that too. And all the students like write out your note card.
Yeah.
I made them get note cards. I'm like, go get some note cards and put it on your bathroom. Put it on your mirror in your car or in your car, wherever you're at all the time, because once you see them, like it's like you start believe like it's that subconscious. You start like, oh yeah, I already got 10 properties, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm. Yep. I even started putting it on my phone. I print it out and I'm just there, and I have the date of when I'm going to achieve it.
So smart.
And it works. It works every single time. It blows my mind. It just works, dude. It just works.
And that's the mindset stuff, Kevin, that if that's it. So a lot of people want to chase and drive, and I get it. Like, you're drivers, you're out there, but You need to know where you're driving, and you need to take time for reflection. You need to celebrate your wins, reward your wins, like every week. Look at your losses, track your stuff to know. Writing it down is just hats off, like so valuable. Yeah. There was a study, I think it was at Harvard or Yale, and if you guys haven't got the book Think and Grow Rich, I would highly recommend that book. That's all-time favorite.
Yes. Amazing book.
Amazing book. So the study was those Ivy League students that wrote down their goals versus the ones that didn't. And these are all highly educated, successful, smart, educated students. The ones that wrote down their goals 20, 30 years later were the ones who had hit the goals. Ones without goals kind of made okay, but they weren't like exceptional. So there's a lot of power in mindset and goals. Think and Grow Rich is a phenomenal book. Richest Man in Babylon is another classic that I read years ago.
Oh, yes. I love that one. I love it.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of course, like Robert Kiyosaki's book is great for starters. So the great thing is nowadays, Kevin, like I said, go to YouTube. You could listen to that whole audiobook for free, Richest Man in Babylon. Like, it's all there. So don't get started somewhere is the key.
Yeah. No, that is definitely amazing, and I hope you guys are definitely listening. For those of you who are stuck in, like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and you're just sitting back watching from the sideline, thinking, I wish I can do this, I wish I can do that. You can do it. You've heard it from Flip here.
And regrets, like I didn't want to have any wish I would have, wish I could have, or should have, because again, we hear a lot of things growing up too from our parents, from church, from school, whatever. So like I always heard my dad, he always worked 5 jobs, and like I'm like, man, I just want to go to my son's baseball game. I want to go to my daughter's recital. So like that was a big mindset thing for me when I was in my 20s. Like, no, I mean, I love my dad, but like he never saw me in baseball bat. Like he never coached. Like I did all that with my kids. And again, guys, you don't want to look back on your children and just say, oh yeah, I barely spent any time, but I spent all this time at the office making someone else rich. Right. Like, so that's for me. You got to know your why too. Like, why do you want to get into this real estate? Because there's so many people right now in investment, real estate, and they come and go. I remember back in 05, 06, the mortgage people were big because everyone was making money, but you can't do it. Money is great, but it can't be your only reason for doing what you're doing. Like there has to be a why behind it, because again, you'll drive yourself crazy. Like, oh, I didn't make this much. So it's good to have a bigger purpose, a bigger why. I want to be a real estate mogul. Why I want to be a Airbnb, 100 units, 100,000 a month, 10,000, 5,000, whatever it is.
Right.
And it's available out there. And I understand you're working 9 to 5. You got kids at home. You got bills. But like, just take some action. And like Kevin said, just write it down. Little actions over time become, manifest to the big target. So know the target, write it down, take action. As soon as you write it down, next thing you know, you got your first Airbnb.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, man, it's great interview. I'm glad it went that way. Maybe we can have, some deeper conversations in the future, Flip. I want to thank you for coming on the show. And sharing that knowledge, sharing that aspect from you who's been in the game so long. Like it's refreshing to hear that, some of the things that I'm doing, you're also doing, because it just works, man. So, but I want to ask you, one last question here, that I ask all my guests, just so we can help those who are, on the fence and, looking of how do I start, right? Where do I start? I have a an expert guest every Thursday who kind of gives us their own perspective, right, on where to start. So, Flip, if you had to start all over from scratch, right, knowing what you know now, how would you start?
100%. So first thing I would do is write it down. Where do you want to go? And then what do you want to do? Because again, you have to be very, you can be very specific, and then it opens it up. And so, for example, you have a show every Thursday. People should watch your show. They should tune into YouTube. You're going to find some people that you gravitate towards. So, for example, you have 44 podcasts. I'm sure there's someone that's just like that person watching, just had those same thoughts, had those same ideas, but they didn't act on it. So seeing someone that's actually acting on what they want to do and seeing, yeah, this is real, you could do this. So I would say, now more than ever, Kevin, like when I started, I had to be very intentional about finding a mentor, but there's so many different mentorship programs, whether it's mine, Brent Daniels, Pace, whoever, Jamil, everyone has programs right now, but get into some mentorship program, plug into the community, go to these meetups. They're free. The meetups are free in Arizona. I don't know how Miami, but there's tons of real estate investment meetups. Everyone's scared at first. I don't like big crowds personally, so for me, it was getting outside the comfort zone and going out and shaking hands and just listening to different presentations. But that's what I would do. And again, try to figure out why you have that limiting belief around money, because that's not going to change unless you make that change. Because we all get our beliefs from, again, parents growing up, our experiences, but don't let that be a barrier to getting into real estate. There's a way. There's a way to do this with zero of your own money, but you have to know what that way is, and you have to learn it, and you have to go after it. That's my only chance. If I don't make it in real estate, I'm not going to make it anywhere. It's the only boat you need to ride. And again, you gotta put pressure on yourself and accountability partners too. And that's why it's so nice to have a one-on-one mentorship or a group mentorship, because again, people want the best for you, and you want to surround yourself with those people.
Wow, that's beautiful. You're my first guest. I mean, I haven't had many guests on the show yet because we just started doing interviews, but you're the first guest who went the mindset route, right? And
that's you're fascinating because I'm glad we got into that.
Yeah. Because it's like you said. To quote Flip here is it's an inside job, right? It starts from inside, man. Because people think about what's the path? I need to get the first listing. I need to get this. I need to get the money. And no, man, it starts first within you, right? To make that decision to not only talk the talk but walk the walk. And
Kevin, don't overanalyze stuff. I know we want to make sure it's safe, but just jump in while being educated, because I've seen people, 20 years ago, they still haven't jumped in because they had that analytical mindset where everything has to be perfect for them to get in. And guess what? They never did it. And those who did blew up.
Yeah.
Some guys, same time, met them, same, year or whatever. They wanted to shadow. They wanted to know what I'm doing. And some people that actually jumped in right when they were supposed to jump in are now very successful. Others are doing their 9 to 5. And that's a choice. So if you want this, like you said, Kevin, we talked about, inside job, inside, no one's going to wake you up at 4 a.m. and say, "Hey, Bob, let's go make some phone calls. Let's go knock on doors. Let's go, learn a YouTube video."
Yeah.
You have to be a self-starter in this business. But again, the rewards are amazing, but a lot of people won't do it. A lot of people won't do it, and they'll continue for 20 years living their 9 to 5, 30 years, and they'll be like, I should have, I would have, I could have, and that to me would that I just didn't want to be that dude.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Flip, I want to thank you once again. Any last thoughts, and where can we find you for those who want to work, love this episode, everything that you said? Where can we find you? How can they work with you?
So we are at the end of the year going to start traveling more. Hopefully we could come see you in Florida and do some
that'd be great.
meetups. But like for people right now, Instagram, like I hopped on there during the pandemic, and I believe you and I've met so many great people through IG. So it's just on Instagram, I always DM. I'm the one DMing and checking them out. So it's just at flippin_AZ, FLIPPIN_AZ. We just started the YouTube channel, and that is the Airbnb Climb, but you can see all my podcasts on there where I interview moguls, mentors, and entrepreneurs on Cut the Curve. So that's on YouTube, and then Spotify. You could listen to it on Cut the Curve. So those are the three main things. But if you ever need anything, just send me a DM. The course link's on there too if you're interested in joining the community. Right now we have 23 people, and we just started it. We haven't advertised. So if you want to be an OG, it's exciting times to see the first group through, and it's been fun. So and if you're out in Arizona too, come to some of our pop-ups. We have pop-ups, which means like Friday, we just have people coming through the luxury, and we talked a little bit about what we did to the luxury, and those are all free.
Beautiful, man. So again, thank you so much, Flip, for being on the show. I'll make sure to have all your contact information, your Instagram, your website, and all that on the show notes for those of you who are interested in looking more into what Flip is doing. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you guys on next episode, which will be episode 44. Hope you like this episode. Just a reminder, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you review the podcast, and share it with your friends, all that good stuff.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. See you guys next time on the BNB Professional.